I'll show you now how a project plan for ISO 27001 project looks like, and how to fill out this document to be really helpful for your project. And before I show you how the document looks like, let me give you a couple of key facts about this document. So first of all, this document is not mandatory, which means that if you did not write this document, you'll still be compliant with the standard. However, I think that for larger companies, also for mid-sized companies, this document is very useful because it clearly explains what is the role of the project manager, what is the role of the project team, what are the milestones in the project, what are some main objectives of the project, and so on and so forth. And of course, if you are a very small company, then probably you will not need such a document. And typically you will write this document at the very beginning of your project. So after your senior management approves the project, this is probably the first document you should write. And this way you actually ensure that your whole project is managed, I would say, in a planned and systematic way. Okay, let me now show you how the document looks like. Okay, I'm showing you now this project plan template from Advisera's ISO 27001 documentation toolkit. So this is the first page. It's usually the same for any document. Second page is where you have change history and table of contents. And let's stick a little bit here. So typically would have purpose, scope, and users, reference documents. Again, these two sections are the same in almost any document. But then you have this third section, which is the most important for project management. So you have the project objectives. What do you want to achieve with the project? What will be the project results? So basically outputs that you will have. Then deadlines or milestones. Then how you will organize the project. So sponsor, manager, project team. What are the main project risks? So what could go wrong with the project? And finally, which kind of tools are you going to use for managing the project? And then section 4 is about managing records that you create as part of your project management, and validity and document management. So let's see a little bit how this document looks like and how to fill it out. So here you have this section 1 about purpose, scope, and users, reference documents. This is usually, of course, 27001. You might have some decision from the senior management, which basically launches the project. You might have some kind of methodology for project management, especially if you are a larger company. And then you have this section 3.1 project objective. So you could say, let's say that your objective is to implement the information security management system is according to 27001 standards by a specific date. And here you also have these comments that help you fill out whatever you have to fill out in the document. So I can simply delete this comment and write a particular date that is set for this project. Let's say January 15, 2027. And then you move on with the project results. So basically what are the main outputs from this project? So these could be various documents that you create as part of this project. As you can see, they're all listed here. Then you specify the deadlines for these projects and so on and so forth. So basically this is how you fill out the document. Okay, what are some frequently asked questions related to a project plan? So first of all, what are some options to include or exclude from this document? So as I mentioned, this document is not mandatory. So theoretically, you can decide, to throw anything out of here or keep maybe only one thing from here. But in general, I would, advise you to keep all of these things that I've shown you already. You might actually decide not to have this project team, especially if you're a smaller company. If you're, let's say, 10 or 20 employees, then you typically do not need a project team. So in this case, you might actually decide to have only project sponsor and project manager. Second thing that might not be needed are these project risks. Again, if you're a smaller company, you're probably not going to need this kind of a section. But again, all the other sections do make sense for both smaller and larger companies. The second question is, who is usually in charge of writing this document? So this would be this project manager. So this person should be nominated by the senior management, and this person should basically write this whole document. Now, in smaller and mid-sized organizations, typically the project manager is also the person who is acting as a chief security officer or chief information security officer, CISO. So in such companies, usually the CISO is running the whole project, whereas in larger organizations, you might actually have a professional project manager who has a large experience in running these kind of complex projects, and then CISO would be part of the project team. Okay, let's see now what are some common challenges and how to overcome these challenges. The biggest challenges, from my experience, are usually when companies nominate a wrong person who is not really a good fit for this project manager role. So sometimes it happens that they nominate, let's say, some intern, so a person with only a couple of months of working experience. And that usually ends up badly because this person simply doesn't know, how to organize things and doesn't understand how the company operates. Also, companies sometimes nominate someone who is purely technical, so someone from the IT department, but this is usually not a good choice because the person who runs this kind of a project should have, I would say, a balance between the knowledge of IT and also the knowledge of the business processes of this particular company. So if this person doesn't know anything about the business side of this company, then this kind of a project usually fails because security is never only about IT. It's also about how you integrate security into all of your business processes. And now let's see what are exactly the things that you have to do before this document and also the steps after this document. Well, before the project, you need to get a clear direction from your senior management. So what is it exactly that they want to achieve with this kind of a project? And the senior management also needs to show a clear commitment to this kind of a project by providing enough resources. So starting with this project sponsor, but also providing enough people to participate in the project and ultimately enough money to purchase various things that will be needed for your project. And after you write this document, basically you have to execute it. So everything that you have written in this document as deadlines or milestones, this is what you have to organize to make sure that you actually meet all of these deadlines. Okay, I hope this was helpful, and let me know in the comments below if you have any questions around project planning, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And to see this project plan for yourself, sign up for the free trial of ISO 27001 documentation toolkit from Advisera. Click the link in the description below and you'll be able to see a free demo of this project plan, but also all the other documents from this toolkit. And see also my next video that gives a detailed overview of this documentation toolkit. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, and you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel not to miss any of my new videos, and I publish videos about cybersecurity governance and AI governance every week. Thanks for watching.